Hi, I'm Scott,
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Luke.
and welcome to the No Way to Hollywood podcast.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you very much.
We're going to get started by doing a little introductions of ourselves and why we're doing this podcast. Luke, you want to give us a little background about you and what is the movie that made you want to get into film?
Okay, so yeah, my name's Luke. I went to film school out at Biola University, so I have a degree in motion picture production. I have produced probably about 10 educational DVDs, several commercial things, as well as several short films that I've done. And I run a free film school on productionnow.com. And the film that got me into film was Star Wars. It was 1997, and they were re-releasing like the 20th anniversary version of the VHS tapes. And I was like, I remember seeing those movies as a kid, I remember seeing those. So let me check those out, right? So I got them, and I was like, I remember really liking these. So I watched them, and I realized that the only thing that I remembered from those films was the worm trying to eat the Millennium Falcon. Like, that was the only thing I remembered as I watched it again. But the entire time that I watched those films, I was like, I think I know how they did that. I think I know how they did that. And whoa, I want to know how they did that. And so the technical side of filmmaking, how did they accomplish that, has always been the thing that I'm most interested in. And that's really what pulled me into the film industry in the first place. Because I was like, this is so cool. I love the way that film makes me feel. And I want to be able to give that to other people as well while figuring out these kind of cool technical things.
Cool. Jonathan?
Yes, my name is Jonathan. I went to Colorado Film School, and I work with this guy over here. We have not yet produced any educational videos yet because we are working on producing those right now, at least for my era. Otherwise, the film or films that got me into filmmaking. I mean, I've been watching movies since forever. Like, I can't remember a time when I wasn't trying to watch movies. We watched, like, I loved Hook, that movie, for whatever reason. When I was a kid, I would not stop watching Hook. I loved it. I, of course, loved Star Wars and still do, except it gets harder every day. And then, I would watch, even when I was younger, probably shouldn't have seen these things yet, but I would watch stuff like Last of the Mohicans and Glory and stuff like that, which is legit and awesome. And my young child mind might have gotten a little more hit with that stuff than maybe he should have. But at the same time, the quality of the filmmaking also stuck, I think, and the nature of the drama and severity, like the realness of it to a sense, really stuck with me. So I've wanted to I wanted to be an actor first. I thought I wanted to be an actor, and then I went and tried some of that, and I was like, no, I want to be in charge is what I want to be. I want to make movies. And I was not nearly as fascinated with the technical aspect was not the thing that really got my attention. I was highly into just the storytelling. I was in characters' shoes. I was feeling what they felt. I would always, I'd be watching Peter Pan. I'd go dress up as Peter Pan, come back out and try to be Peter Pan. It'd be Far and Away, and there'd be the boxing scene where he takes off his shirt and he boxes. And so I'd take off my shirt and start boxing. That's why I wanted to be in those stories. I wanted to do those things. I loved stories that much. I was in it. So growing up, it was acting, and it was like, no, I don't really like, as far as the craft, I want to write stories. I want to direct stories. And went to film school and was like, yeah, I don't even know if I want to direct. I want to write more, but directing is where I get to try to get the vision across. So anyway, that's how I got into filmmaking. Is I've just been watching movies since forever.
Yeah. Cool. My story is, first of all, my name is Scott, and I did attend the University of Southern California, but I majored in philosophy and ended up minoring in film because I took a film class every year I was there. So I got to see a bunch of different aspects of film. Like Luke, the movie that really kind of put me over the edge and made me want to study film was Star Wars, the original, with the stormtroopers bumping their head on the door. For the record,
That was the moment that pulled you in?
I think so.
You were like, that guy bumped his head.
I can make a film better than this guy. Let's do it.
Wow.
Good thing Lucas pulled that out and then just ruined the movies. But anyways, I was definitely fascinated with George Lucas, and that's part of the reason I ended up at USC, because that's where he went and where he donated a large sum of money to make sure it was the best film school. Yeah, I do remember some of those other films when I was growing up, like Jonathan mentioned. For me, those films were Mary Poppins and Field of Dreams, oddly enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, don't worry, because the film that I grew up watching, because we didn't watch a lot, was Babes in Toyland.
Ah,
So that's why my skill set is where it is.
gotcha. My comparison to Jonathan is actually, though, the thing that did pull me in was the storytelling. There was something about just being able to escape into another story, another world, that was just so captivating to me. And yeah, I tried my hand at acting and was horrible at it. But I did enjoy the film and the making, and was like, I could do the behind the scenes stuff because I like being behind the scenes anyways, which explains why I'm here in front of the camera right now.
Makes sense.
Kind of.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of hopes and dreams for what this podcast could be, so we're going to get into that a little bit. This whole kind of process started for us in, I showed up at work to work with these guys just a few years ago, and the first thing we connected on was film. And so we would talk about film during breaks. We'd talk about film just when we were passing by.
We still do that.
They invited me to the movie night thing that Luke likes to host, and
he never comes.
And I never come anymore, but the rest is history. And so this became, the idea was our creative escape to kind of just impart knowledge that we have from our time in film school, as well as our time trying to make films and just having fun with films in general. And so that's kind of what this is. And my big dream for this is that not only do we get to have fun talking about films, but we also get to impart our knowledge and make you a better film goer.
I think really our coworkers were just so sick of us talking about film at lunch that they were like, just go do a podcast, and then if anybody wants to listen, they can, and we don't have to.
I find myself literally and figuratively in the middle here, where I think that potentially what I feel like is it's a great escape for us to actually have a chance to talk about films in depth and sort of have to have some structure to how we talk about things. And at the same time, yes, to give people a reprieve, and maybe if we get a viewership that people may enjoy just listening, or maybe learn something, or just have a good time being like, yeah, I think that too, or that guy's so dead wrong. Such an idiot. Either way, please enjoy.
Yeah.
With that being said, the big topic for tonight's episode is the Oscars. Gentlemen, did you watch the Oscars?
No.
Why did you guys not watch the Oscars?
I love movies.
Can you please expound on that a little bit more?
I mean, I'm of course making a joke, but I really do. To me, the Oscars are as far away from movies and the parts of movies I love in so many ways. Like, it's such the other side of things that I really don't like. It's fame and glamour on the red carpet, and then it's like 3 to 4 hours of pomp and circumstance to generally no avail. You talk about wanting to, for our audience, even trying to maybe give you something of worth, which we may or may not, but we're trying to be upfront about it. The Oscars just pretends that everybody in the world cares, or at least everyone tuning in cares. And that, if that is the case, people who care have been steadily declining year after year for a while. And I think that part of the reason for that is it's an award show, it's fundamentally what it is. And it's also, it's been that way for a long time. Like, is it political? Is it agenda driven? Who are the voters of the Academy? What do they care about? You see Deadline Hollywood shows up and says, hey, here, take a look at what one of the Academy voters did. And they're like, I didn't see half these movies, so I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose this. That's all fine, but I don't know why I would care too much. I mean, obviously the big conceit is, what is the best picture of the year, right? Like, that's kind of the thing that's sort of claiming. It's like, we're going to tell you, audience goers in the world, and of course really just fellow filmmakers, we're going to tell you what we think the best picture of the year is. We think the best foreign film. We're going to have all these categories and do it. And I almost always disagree with their choices. Not always, but almost always. And I find the time spent on it makes me feel icky. I don't like seeing the actors and actresses and the directors and producers and writers, because generally it's a bad environment for anybody to get to know them or see anything good and positive about them. And it gets political real fast. And it is not movies or movie making.
Yeah.
It's neither of those two things. And that's what I love that comes out of Hollywood half the time. Not all the time, but half the time.
Luke, what's your reasoning behind not watching the Oscars?
I have a 2-year-old. But no, I actually I do have a 2-year-old. But I also I've never really watched the Oscars. That has never been a thing. Occasionally, people are like, "Oh, did you see which film won?" And I'm like, "Oh, right, that there's a thing that does that, right?"
It's the internet.
Yeah, or people that I know, they'll mention something, and I truly don't care what their take is. And this may go back to kind of the Rotten Tomatoes stuff, where it's like you see what people are rating, and you're like, where are people getting this stuff from, right? Like, where is this? And then there's all the drama about who got snubbed, and like I truly do not care. What I care about is, how do you make movies? And what is that movie doing to me? How is it shaping my mind? How is it helping me feel something differently? How is it helping me see the world in a different way? Or am I just having a great time, right? Like, that's what I'm looking for in films. And then, yeah, when I have heard about some of the awards, I'm like, one, I don't understand why. And then two, sometimes it's like, that's actually dead wrong. And then it's great when I see the YouTube essays where people are breaking down why that is a terrible choice. And then I start wondering, well, what drove that in the first place? And so I truly don't care at all. That's why I don't watch it.
Just disclaimer. Luke says that he doesn't care a lot, but it's like, I often take that as, you obviously have a take.
I have a take.
It's not that you really, truly don't care. It's just your go-to phrase.
Okay, you guys might discover a little bit about me over the course of this show.
Sorry, tidbit.
Hyperbole. I never do it.
He never, ever
Never.
does it.
I actually did watch the Oscars this year.
Oh.
I don't know my reasoning why I actually did, other than I was
do
in
you normally or do you not normally?
It really just depends on what I'm doing.
Coin
I
flip.
was kind of locked into a hotel room by myself that night and said,
That'll do it.
let me turn on the TV. And
It was kind of like Old Boy, like kill people with hammers, or watch the Oscars.
possibly. I will say, though, that there was a time in my life when I seriously did watch the Oscars and appreciated it. I think a lot of that had to do with the people I surrounded myself, especially in college, because they were all the people trying to make it. And hey, at that point in time, I was going to try and make it. So that's what I did. I may have also had a roommate whose dad produced the Oscars at one point in time. So got to.
You do good work. Thanks for watching.
He was great. He actually, it was funny because he would record the credits, not the rest of the show, but would record the credits of the Oscars just to know who had worked on it, and would critique their work afterwards.
Neat.
It was possibly more entertaining than watching the Oscars itself.
Did he give out awards for that then too?
No.
Oscars for Oscars, baby.
There is one thing that happened in this year's Oscars that I would like to bring up to these guys and get their take on. For the first time ever, an international film won Best Picture at the Oscars this year. What thoughts do you guys have on Parasite, the director, or anything about it? Have you seen it?
All right,
No.
Here's the deal. This is a little shameful for our first episode of the podcast, but no, I have not seen Parasite Best Picture year.
We are thinking about watching it someday, though.
Maybe one day, sometime. No, this is a film that's been on my radar for a little while. Certainly before the nominees even came out, I was reading articles and stuff about it, and people were saying this is a good film. You need to watch out for it. And I'm a little cynical. Again, you sort of talk about critiques and stuff. Sometimes just the way people write about something, the things that they note about a film, tend to give me a sense now about whether I trust them or not, what kind of film I think it's going to be. And that is a little unfair to the film itself, because someone's writing about a film, period, is just not the film. It's just, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So I have not seen Parasite. So I can't make a truly objective statement or even subjective opinion about it. Just that what I read about it was not compelling. It sounded to me easily the term artsy or it's just going down a direction of filmmaking that I expected to be ultimately unsatisfying to me. So I never took the time to go see it. But as everyone's been talking about, and of course now with nominees and a Best Picture win, it's like I need to know what this is just so I can have a reference point and be able to talk to people. Just haven't done that yet.
And as far as the historic nature of like, oh, this is the first time that America has finally recognized a film outside of the U.S. film system as being excellent. Well, it's about time because people do make films outside of the country and they do some good ones. Maybe they don't appeal to our Western sensibilities or whatever, and so it could be that we're finally getting to a place where our filmmaking either is so bad here, or that they're getting so good, or that we're finally able to appreciate a wider swath and perspective on things, or that this one just happened to tap exactly where we are right now because it's apparently about class structure, and so hey, look, that fits with a narrative going on here in our country, and so
wait, are you telling me that this movie might be political?
I'm saying that it may be tapping into a topic that our nation is currently thinking through, and so seeing what another nation, another culture is doing and thinking about that particular topic may be what helped it rise to the surface as being excellent, and people recognizing that and saying, "Oh, we recognize that story, so let's honor that." And so that's just my guess, having not seen it. But that is cool that we're finally saying, "Look, there's other filmmakers out there, and they're doing a good work."
Cool.
I just want to say that one of the thing I have about this is it's somewhat semantics, but what are the Academy Awards about? If it's always been U.S. films only, right? If that's sort of a definitional standard for the Best Picture is only within the United States of America, fine. That's fine. If you're going to start making it truly, what's the best movie in the world? That's such a huge swath of films to even begin to try to review, let alone vote on. And the Academy doesn't even watch the films that make it, that are the Best Picture nominees of the year anyway. So for me, it's not that like that. Sure, great. We're being a bit more internationally minded. There are fantastic films from overseas, of course. But in my mind, it's truly just a sort of semantics. What are you trying to accomplish? Academy Awards. What are you wanting to accomplish? And my suspicion is, just like many things I feel, it's a little arbitrary. It doesn't really have a point one way or another, which is part of the reason I don't particularly care what they say about anything, because it's just a bunch of voters doing what they want to do for the time.
Sure. I actually did go and see Parasite last night.
Oh wow!
The only one qualified to talk about this.
Yeah, and he just saw it. Just remember that, okay?
Just saw it.
Okay.
I did
We're
process.
great film people.
Did process this a little bit today at work with someone else who had seen the film. However, I'm still in a place with Parasite where I'm wondering if it won because it was trying to be Hollywood rather than trying to be true to itself. Now, that being said, there was some really great camera work in the film. I thought the story was delightful. In terms of dark comedy of the year, by far, I enjoyed it immensely.
You do have a special place for dark comedy, don't you?
I kind of do.
Huh. Okay.
Not sure why, because I'm not that dark of a person, but...
I mean, there are times.
Okay.
Just kidding. I'm just messing.
Well, we are now coming to the end of our show, and tonight what I'd like to do to close out, gentlemen, is have us each share a film that we are looking forward to.
So what film are you looking forward to, Scott?
My film that I am looking forward to is titled Wendy. It is coming out here at the end of February. It is a new portrayal of the Peter Pan story. Having just read Peter Pan and knowing how much this guy right here loves Peter Pan because he dressed up as a Peter Pan a lot as a kid.
Hook. Okay,
I like the
Hook.
movie Hook. Hook is legit. Peter Pan was the hero, so I liked him as well.
Okay, and it just looks like a different story of Peter Pan that I'm used to seeing. It looks like someone was actually trying to tell the story rather than just be the whimsical story. And I'm still expecting some whimsy to it, but it definitely has more of a real feel in the previews that I've seen. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm probably going to go see it close to opening weekend. And we'll come back after I do that and see how I feel about it. Jonathan?
So I'm going to give you two because there's one that's coming up sooner and there's one that's coming up later. And the one that's coming up later, I'm going to bring up every single time you ask this question. And that is very simply Dune, coming at the end of this year by Denis Villeneuve. I'm very excited for that film. That film could be fantastic. It could also break my heart. We shall see. As far as another film coming out sooner, this is probably still a little farther out than would be advantageous, but Top Gun Maverick. And I'll tell you why. Because I am a fan of genre filmmaking. I am a fan of Tom Cruise when he's basically just doing crazy stuff, crazy stunts. It's not quite Mission Impossible, but he is in a jet when either him or someone else is flying that thing at, however many G's, and the camera work, like just the fact they put a bunch of IMAX quality cameras into jets just makes me happy. And quite frankly, being that it's Top Gun, and the first Top Gun never really had a story that I particularly cared about, means I don't care about this story at all either. I'm just going to go watch some jets fly around and shoot things, and it makes me so happy. No stakes, all fun. If they screw it up, but they can't. It's jets flying around. Come on.
Yeah. Before we move on to Luke, I do want to ask you a little bit about Tom Cruise. In the past, I know that we've mentioned and we've talked about different people in Hollywood that are kind of breaking the Hollywood mold a little bit. And Tom Cruise is one of the names that has popped up. So, Jonathan, considering you are so excited for Top Gun Maverick, can you just tell me a little bit why Tom Cruise perhaps is one of the people that is breaking the mold in Hollywood?
I think that Tom Cruise, sure, he's breaking the mold because he's doing, he's an actor doing all of his own stunts. That's an old story. I'd actually say that's not as much breaking the mold in my mind as it is going back to the way it used to be, in a sense where performers were performers. Like, you had a lot more of singers and dancers and stuff in films, and choreography used to be a bigger deal. And while it's not singing, dancing, or that kind of choreography, or even martial arts choreography, which had, of course, a renaissance at the time, Tom Cruise is performing. He is giving a performance that no one else currently is really doing. And, I mean, the man, there's so much more. I mean, you want to talk about breaking the mold. The man's been a little bit on the edge for a lot of things in his personal life for a long time. But the thing I think I love most about Tom Cruise, probably the most valuable thing that I know about, at least behind the scenes, is beyond all the performance and everything that he's willing to do and all the big names and sequels and stuff, is he's just a guy who really, really deeply loves film. He is a filmmaker in his own right. He is always talked about when he gets with a director or producer or anybody as being like, my first movie was Tom Cruise as a director, and I got spoiled because Tom was a producer practically, and he just wanted everything to be the best. He puts himself on the line. The reason he does the stunts is because he does want to perform. He does want to give the audience something. And so as much as Tom Cruise in many facets may not be my cup of tea or other people's cup of tea, he is absolutely dedicated to filmmaking, storytelling, and entertaining performing. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, Luke. What movie are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing Tenet because Christopher Nolan. I have an up-down relationship with this guy. I love one of his films, and then I hate the next one. And then I love his film, and then I'm like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, that one was great, and then what? And so I'm hoping that Tenet is one that I really enjoy, because I didn't enjoy the last one. So
you haven't seen Dunkirk. You mean
Interstellar?
Yeah,
I really did not like Interstellar, and I haven't seen Dunkirk. And people are saying, well, we're not sure if you're going to like it, Luke. So I'm interested in seeing what he's doing. I like seeing his world building. I like seeing the way he pushes things. I love that he's still practical with a lot of his effects stuff, or at least the basis for his effects stuff. But he totally understands the craft. And what's awesome is that he didn't go to film school. He just made movies and just was like, hey, I'm gonna figure out how to do this right. And that's awesome. And he talks about how he's learned things and how he takes what he learned from his no-budget films into his big-budget films and just all that good stuff. I love all of it. So I'm very interested to seeing if that's a good film, if I enjoy it or not. That's the question, because he's clearly really competent at filmmaking, but I don't always love his films. But that's the next one I'm most interested in.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight on the No Way to Hollywood podcast. We'll see you again next time.